Husky fans, welcome into episode number 3 of NIU Weekly. We appreciate you tuning in to another episode as we get ready for another week of Husky football, taking on Nebraska on the road. Tough win last weekend at Husky Stadium. See if Huskies can get back on track, get a win on the road. Another Power 5 team as Huskies travel to take on the Cornhuskers. Hey, we got to mention, this is now 2,500 mark of subscribers on this NIU YouTube page. 2,500 subscribers happened last week. Thank you for all that have subscribed. If you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Just click the like button. Just get the bell. Click it. You'll see all the highlights and videos coming up here on NIU Athletics on this YouTube page. Special week coming up, as we mentioned, going back on the road for football. I'm going to talk to head coach Thomas Hammock. Also going to talk a little football of a different sort with Ryan Swan. Now in his 7th season as a head coach on men's soccer. They've got a busy non-conference schedule and get ready for Missouri Valley Conference play. Remember, NIU men's soccer is in the Missouri Valley now. They're going to take on the defending champs. That's going to happen in DeKalb on Saturday. We'll talk about that. Everything about the roster with men's soccer coming up with Ryan Swan as well. Don't forget, we've got our look back with Bill Baker. A really good one this week. He's going to talk about the different radio partners he's had and also an alias he had to use in his first year at NIU. We'll talk about that with Bill Baker. So busy show, but first things first, let's talk football with head coach Thomas Hammock. Husky football going back on the road. Lincoln, Nebraska take on a Big Ten team. Try to get another Power 5 win this season. Huskies taking on Nebraska on Saturday night as we're joined by head coach Thomas Hammock. And coach, before we get to Nebraska, let's go back to Saturday at Husky Stadium. After looking at the film, what did you see overall from the game?
Well, we just didn't block well enough up front offensively. We didn't make enough plays. We had untimely turnovers. And then special teams put us in some bad spots. So, we didn't play well enough to win that game. Credit to SIU. But defensively, I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from our defense. Playing 11 guys working together, playing extremely well. And we need them to keep that up so we can find a way to win games.
One of those names on the D-line was Ray Thomas, sack and a half. I mean, he was really getting in the backfield, and Bill Baker was calling Ray Thomas's name a lot on Saturday.
No, I mean, you saw a lot of hustle effort, hustle plays from him. He made a nice play off the backside on the run play going away from him. Had a nice sack, had an opportunity to get the ball out. It bounced right back to the quarterback. So was very pleased with our defensive line, in particular our defensive ends. You look at Ray Thomas had a sack, Roy Williams had a sack, and George Gums, the guy that played offense for us last year, had a sack and a half. So, you're talking about if you can get that type of production out of your defensive ends, something that we stress, something that we've talked about. Coach Moore has done a phenomenal job with that unit, getting those guys developed, getting them to understand the job and how to perform in critical moments. And those guys gave us a really good boost on the defensive line.
Thomas, expand on George Gums because, again, you mentioned converted tight end last year, played tight end, but in spring and now to have the success he's had early, and he looked one of the fastest guys on the field on Saturday, Thomas. How can you do that? How can you change a position like that and be successful early like George has?
Well, the things that matter, George was always physical. He always played hard. Offensively, there's a lot more thinking involved on offense. And I think for a guy like George, who's very athletic, very natural football player, it was an easy transition for him. And we moved him after spring ball. So you're talking about over the course of the summer, Coach Moore did a great job getting him ready to play, getting his weight up where he can have a chance to perform. But we did a lot of teaching of football in the summertime. So when he got to training camp, he was already ahead of the 8 ball from the standpoint of now you just have to do it from a physical standpoint. And I've never questioned his physical nature and how he plays the position.
Another name that stood out on Saturday I thought was Jordan Hansen. It seemed like he was all over the field, coach, and making plays. What'd you like about Jordan's play?
No, he came in, did a nice job. Obviously, CJ's dealing with a hand situation. And Jordan came in. He was ready when his number was called. And he made some great tackles. I mean, they try to make it a speed and space type game. And Jordan came down and made some nice plays. I don't know if they gave him a sack, but he had a nice play on the quarterback as well when he knocked the kid out of bounds.
and also only giving up 71 rushing yards in the game, Thomas. I mean, not letting them get in the run game going. And again, they only scored 14, or they only scored, they only scored not a lot of points, 14 late to middle third quarter, nothing after that, Thomas. So, I mean, it seemed like you guys were able to stop it, especially in the run game.
No, I mean, they play as a unit. I think our interior defensive linemen had a lot to say about that as well, with James Esther and Devontae O'Malley, Damon Taylor, Cade Haberman, and Skylar. Those guys are rotating. We're keeping a bunch of guys fresh. Our linebackers play downhill and was able to minimize the run game. And we got to continue to do that week in and week out.
On the offensive side, it just seems like it came down to a couple of plays, right? You missed the field goals, a couple of interceptions, but your thoughts now getting ready and what you need to see from that offense moving forward, Tom?
Obviously we have to evolve. We have to, figure out a way to get lighter boxes, get people out of there. I think we have receivers that can make plays, so that gives me a positive mindset. But now we have to have balance. You can't just drop back and pass the ball 60 times a game. I don't think our offensive line is built for that. So we have to find some creative ways to get the run game going, as well as making sure Rocky has enough attempts in the passing game, because we do want to throw the football, and we want to give him opportunity to throw the football. But at the same time, we got to protect the football when we throw it, and I think that's important, especially in critical moments like 2 minutes. So we had two-minute interceptions, and those are game changers.
Yeah. Jalen Johnson, Davis Patterson getting their first catches as Huskies. I like so that from Jalen, like what I've seen him, and also Davis just getting in there, right, getting more reps and getting catches, Thomas. But also Gavin Williams. I really like what I've seen so far and what he's done, being multidimensional out there in the backfield.
Yeah, no, we got some targets, some guys that can make plays, some guys that's going to continue to gain confidence week in and week out. And Jalen, the first game he played 2 snaps, last game he played 19 snaps. So, we're trying to work him back in, and Davis Patterson. Those are 2 big targets. And one thing about when you have longer receivers, it's hard to press longer receivers, because if you don't press them correctly, that has the potential to be a big play. And then Gavin was a nice safety valve for the quarterback. He's doing a nice job in protection, and then obviously slipping out and becoming an option in the passing game, which I think is critical for our offense.
Let's talk about Nebraska. Okay, they come in 0-2, lost to Minnesota and lost to Colorado last week, 36-14. Matt Rule, his first season now as the head coach of the Huskers. Give us your thoughts overall on Nebraska.
Well, obviously the first thing that sticks out on tape is their strength and physicality on the offensive line and defensive line. And then they have tremendous athletes. Their defense is physical. They play downhill. They want to stop the run, force you to be one-dimensional. And then offensively, it starts with the quarterback. That quarterback is dynamic. We seen him a couple of years ago. Yeah. Every play, you're holding your breath, because he can go the distance. So they do a nice job of scheming around him and his strengths, and got a lot of variations off of things that they do. So we got to have great eye discipline. We got to be 11 guys working together, filling gaps to give ourselves a chance.
You mentioned Jeff Sims, number 7, the former Georgia Tech quarterback, came over to Nebraska. One thing he has done so far, Thomas, he's put the ball on the floor. He's turned the ball over a little bit, so there's been some rumblings. Maybe we'll see more number 10, Heinrich Harburg as well. But Jeff Sims, he can throw, but he also loves to run the ball, and he can run. He can gain some yards on the ground.
Yeah, I think he had a 70-yard touchdown run against Colorado, and nobody was close. So, we have to make sure we are gap sound, assignment sound, because they have a lot of, motions, tight ends going different ways. He running opposite ways. So they have a lot of deception in their offense. So we have to have great discipline and continue to build upon, the start that we've had defensively, to give ourselves a chance in games like this.
Well, not only Sims will run the ball, number 22, Gabe Irvin Jr. had 17 carries last week versus Colorado. Number 14, Premier Johnson. Do they want to run first, Thomas, right now?
Yeah, I think, this is a style of play. They want to be physical. They want to lean on you. They want to wear you down in the fourth quarter, and they want to run the football. So I think anytime, you play a team that's coached by, Coach Rule, you understand what it's going to be. It's going to be a heavy dose of the run game, play action pass, play great defense, play great special teams, and then give yourself a chance to go win the game when it matters most.
They also brought in number 1, Billy Kemp, a transfer wide receiver from Virginia. He's been a big part of their offense so far. And defensively, again, number 4, Luke Reimer. He's led the Huskies in tackles the last two seasons. He's up there again on that list. But you talked about the physicality of them. Again, there's no surprise, Coach. They're going to want to stop the run again and make you throw the ball, correct?
Yeah, no. I mean, they are stout. I think they got 2 D linemen that's over 315 pounds plus. They play strong with their hands. They want to change the line of scrimmage. And then they allow those linebackers to play downhill. So, it's a physical defense. It's a challenging defense, how they have people in different spots and how you have to account for the numbers. But, we have to make sure we dig into the preparation, we dig into the game plan and understand what they're trying to get done, understand how we can try to attack them. And then we have to execute. At the end of the day, we have to execute. It's going to be loud. There's going to be a lot of noise. We have to, focus through the noise and be able to execute when it matters.
Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck on Saturday taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And let's go get another Power 5 win.
Thank you, and go Huskies.
From one style of football to another style of football, from Thomas Hammock, we bring in Ryan Swan, now in his 7th season with NIU men's soccer. And Ryan, it's great to have you on. And I know you guys are now into this non-conference play. Talk a bit about what you've seen from your team so far.
Yeah, we've kind of had a mixed bag of results, but I do think that every week we've been getting a little bit better, and we've got a lot of new faces in the squad right now. So just having those guys adjust and fit into our style of play has been a work in progress. But I do feel after every game we've made steps forward, and hopefully we get the complete package here soon.
Let's talk about that roster. You got 12 newcomers, 7 different countries represented, Ryan. Let's talk about the makeup of the roster.
Yeah, we do have guys from everywhere. Obviously, when we go out and we're looking for players, there's no stone left unturned. And while there are guys from lots of different countries, I think most of them, we found them here in the US, so the guys that were new this year, Kevin Kelly, we saw playing down for a junior college in Florida, and Amo Mashigo was up in the Northeast. So we're not racking up the frequent flyer miles going around the world. We're typically finding them over here. But it's just when we're out and we're looking for players, it's so important to us that we get obviously good soccer players, but people that are right for the culture as well. And regardless of where they're coming from, we're just looking for those things. And I think, with that mentioned, we've got guys from around the world. There's, I think, a good base of guys coming out of right here in Illinois. And so we're happy with the guys we've got. We're happy with where the culture's going.
Coach, do you keep your style of play that you want? Do you have to revamp it a little bit with the different styles? Talk to me through that. It's, again, year 7 now for you here.
Yeah, I think so. We each year, we lose some guys, and I think the more success the team's having, the more chances there are for guys to go on and play pro. And I think we've seen 4 or 5 guys in the last couple of years go on and play at the professional level, which is great for us. But it does mean we're always looking to revamp the roster and bring new guys in. And it's very difficult to get a like for like guy coming in. So as we get new players in, we do have to kind of adjust our style of play a little bit, but we try and keep it pretty consistent, where we want to have the ball, we want to dominate possession, and we want to get the ball down and play in a sort of attractive style of plays, if you will. And so I think that's pretty consistent, but there's always little tweaks that have to come along as we see new personnel.
Talk to me about some of the names you're leaning on this year so far, Coach.
Well, I think that one of the guys he's a returner, his 4th year with us, is Cami Estrado. I think has been outstanding for us this year. Harry Jolly has been one of the big influential players for us the last few years, and he came in after picking up an injury over the summer, hasn't been on the field yet. And so Harry, as great a player as he is, his leadership has been the biggest thing, I think, for us over the last few years. So while we've been missing that, is guys like Cami have stepped up and kind of embraced that leadership role, and obviously it helps. He's banged in 3 goals in the last couple of games. That's always going to hit the headlines, I think. But I think the way that he stepped up in a leadership role has been huge for us. Kevin Kelly's guy's been starting at the 9 position for us, and He hasn't scored a goal yet, but he's been so integral into the way that we want to play and the things we want to happen. So I know as a striker, I was a striker in college, that we thrive on scoring goals, and I can see the frustration from him. But we've been very happy with his work rate and like I say, just the things that he does to help us play. And so the goals will come for him. We went through this with a number of other good attacking players, and when he gets his first, I think there'll be a lot of goals that will follow up. And then finally, just want to mention, fourth year, Kuba Rojek, who's been starting in goal for us and has just had some incredible saves over the first few games. I'd be much happier if he had nothing to do, if we weren't letting teams through in on close to him, but he has just stepped up with some, I think, incredible saves. And those are the things I think are going to be in the highlight tape for the end of the year. And hopefully we can add some spectacular goals so that he's not getting all those highlights.
He really stacked the non-conference part of the schedule, taking on teams like Memphis, Notre Dame, Northwestern, really good teams. Coach, why'd you do that? What did you want to get out of this non-conference?
I think it's always the case for us. Those are the games that I want to be playing in, and I think our guys want to be playing in against the top teams. And I think, the conference is going to be really tough this year. I think right now we're maybe ranked as the 5th best conference in the country, and I think it's likely to go up from there. And so we've got to be playing good competition all the time. So yeah, we went on the road to Notre Dame, dropped a close one there. Now we dropped a heartbreaker on Friday with Northwestern scoring with 14 seconds to go to beat us 2-1. But these are environments I think we've got to be in. That's the competition we have to be playing, so that when we start playing the top teams in the Missouri Valley, we're prepared for that. But I think it's good from an experience perspective, and also where we want this program to be, we need to be playing the top teams in the nation.
Missouri Valley, we talked about the jump over to the new conference. Tell me about the new conference. And I know you're taking on Missouri State start. We'll talk more about that on Saturday, but you got a conference in the Missouri Valley that's got some really good, strong programs. What's your early thoughts now as you move into the Missouri Valley?
We're really excited about it. Obviously, the MAC's always going to be home for us, and we loved our time there. But when this opportunity came up, I think, obviously with us and Western Michigan and Bowling Green all moving over to the Valley together, and the Valley was already a good conference. I think with 3 of us coming over, we're going to see it as one of the premier soccer conferences in the country. So we're very excited about it. And I think if you look through the results through the non-conference so far, it's not just us that's been playing tough competition. Missouri State went out and opening day and beat Maryland, who are obviously one of the top teams in the nation. We've seen Western Michigan have already picked up a few big wins. They just beat Dayton this weekend. They lost a close one to Vermont a few weeks ago, who are nationally ranked. So I think across the board, we've got teams throughout the conference beating some of the top teams in the nation. So I suspect when things all come out at the end of the year, we'll have 3 or 4 teams in the national tournament. So really excited about conference getting started, and can't wait to especially host that first game here just on a few days from now.
Yep, Saturday, September 16th, hosting Missouri State. Again, the defending conference regular season tournament champs, 4 straight regular season titles for Missouri State. Again, admission is free. Admission is free at the Soccer and Track and Field Complex for men's soccer. And it's going to be out Saturday, September 16th, 6 p.m., taking on Missouri State. What's your thoughts? You should take on the champs early.
Yeah, exactly. They won it last year. I've already watched a couple of their games this year, and they're a really good team. And obviously, I'm very familiar with those guys. I was at Drury University, which is just 5 minutes away from Missouri State for 11 years. So I got to know the coaches and their style of play down there, and really have a lot of respect for what they've built there. Because when I first got down to Springfield in 2006, the program was not in great shape, and they've built it over the last 10, 15 years. And so we're excited about it. But I think the guys are fired up and they're ready for this. And I don't think there's a better way to start the conference than getting the defending champions on your home field. And as you mentioned, it's free to get into, and it really has been fantastic. I know the weather has not been cooperating. It's been so hot for our first couple of days that it's kind of tough being out there. But we really appreciate all the fans come out. We had a really good crowd in against Aurora last week. We got a really good crowd in against Memphis. So we really appreciate it. And I think if the fans keep showing up, I think you're going to see some really good soccer, and hopefully a lot of wins here for them and the Huskies.
And that's coming up Saturday night, 6 p.m. at the Soccer Track and Field Complex. Free admission, NIU hosting Missouri State. I got to end on a really good note too, Coach. You talk about some of the pros, and Anthony Markanek recently traded to St. Louis City, scored his first goal, has started the last 2 games. It's great to see former Huskies, again, a MAC champion as part of that MAC championship team with you, Coach, do well. And Anthony's done a great job.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And, I was speaking to Anthony when he was out in Colorado, and he was getting frustrated there that he wasn't getting as much playing time as he wanted. And, Colorado were rooted to the bottom of the Western Conference, and he gets a transfer to the team at the top. and now he started the last 2 games and doing fantastically well. So I was delighted for him when he scored his first goal just a week ago, and just really excited for Anthony. And I think a quick shout out to his brother Nick as well, who with the Charleston Battery just secured a playoff spot on, I think it was Saturday night. So they went Saturday night, Nick secures a playoff spot, and then Sunday Anthony gets the start against Los Angeles. So really excited to see our guys out in the pro level and getting it done. And I think it shows where the program is right now, that we're setting guys up for that success. And we talked to the current guys about it as well. If that's your ambition, and it is for a lot of them, you got to have that work rate and mentality that Anthony and Nick had as well. And it's not at the end of your career. You got to get it done from the beginning to have that drive to get to the next level.
Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck, not just only on Saturday night in front of the home crew, but throughout a conference play. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon again.
I appreciate it, Andy. All the best.
Always great talking to Ryan Swan, talking men's soccer. Don't forget, get out there Saturday night, 6 p.m. Missouri State's in town, free admission at the NIU Soccer and Track and Field Complex for the opening of Missouri Valley Conference play. NIU men's soccer taking on Missouri State. One of the highlights of Saturday's game for the Husky Sports Network crew really came at halftime as NIU honored Bill Baker, retiring after 44 years as the voice of the Huskies. Great scene as Bill had his wife out there, 50 years, Karen, his daughters, Kim and Julie, and 2 of his grandsons with him on the field. And you got to be sure to check out the segment that's coming up, but they're going to have it right on this channel, YouTube channel, Bill Baker. It's going to be a longer video. They showed it on halftime. It's going to be a little bit longer too, an expanded version. It's going to be out here on the YouTube channel soon. It's really cool about Bill Baker, myself, Mark Lindo. We had the chance to talk about Bill, but it kind of leads me into looking back with Bill Baker this week. And this week on the segment, Bill talks about some of the various radio partners he's had throughout the years. Also, Bill had to use an alias, or wanted to use an alias his first season in NIU. He talks about that. Here's the Looking Back with Bill Baker. We continue our series talking to the voice of the Huskies, Bill Baker, retiring after 44 years behind the mic. And Bill, I've been one of the guys you've been able to work with. I know you think I'm your favorite. It might be true, but you had some great partners. You've had some great people to work with throughout the years. So my question to you is just the relationships you've built and the people you've worked with in the broadcast, because it's been, you've been able to work with a lot of cool people.
All right, don't let this go to your head, but I've worked with some of the finest people I could ever possibly imagine. It's not just the people that sit next to me or travel with me on these broadcasts. It's the people, the support people from, the administration, the coaches, the student athletes, the support staff, everybody. I have been so fortunate. And not just at NIU, you meet and you develop relationships with a lot of people, friendships even, with a lot of people on the road, because a lot of these places you go to every year when you're in league play. So I've been very fortunate with that. My first guy, there's a story behind this, because Bill Baker, when all is said and done, will not, and I say again, not have called 44 years of NIU football. Bill Baker will have called 43 years of NIU football. That first year, Bill Baker wasn't Bill Baker. Bill Baker was Bill Henry, which happens to be my middle name. And the story behind that is that there were a couple of stations on the network at that time in 1980. My station in Aurora was not one of them at that particular point in time. But the other station in Aurora, which was WMRO, was on the network. And here we are. I mean, we're fierce competitors in Aurora. And all of a sudden, the voice of high school sports in Aurora on WKKD, which is my station, shows up doing NIU on WMRO. Now, the guy that ran WMRO is a Husky grad. His name was Dave McCallie. Okay. And Dave actually did the games. He had the rights, I think, for 2 or 3 years before the network was reestablished. And somebody had to tell Dave, and I guess it turned out to be Jerry or Dr. Brigham. Dave was nice about it. I said, listen, I'll change my name. So maybe people won't have any idea. I'll go ahead and change my name. I will be Bill Henry. In fact, I even took a hunk of paper and big magic marker, wrote Bill Henry and taped it up right in front of me so that I'd remember doing the broadcast. Now, I never had any issue. I was always good. I was Bill Henry. The guy I worked with the very first year was Pat Terry. Pat Terry worked in sales for WMRO. This is kind of convoluted here. But he kept calling me Bill Baker. And I kept calling myself Bill Henry. And finally, we got to the end of the football season. Dave McCallie called me. There was 2 games to go. He said, Bake, he says, just get rid of the Bill Henry. Everybody knows who the heck you are anyway. So just go ahead and get rid of Bill Henry, and be Bill Baker the rest of the time. And that's what I did. I worked with Pat Terry for a couple of years. He decided to continue his sales career. Brought in a guy by the name of Sid Simmons, who, Sid was with me 20 some years in that neck of the woods, initially upstairs in the booth, and to my right when we do high school, or I should say, the basketball. We decided, and in fact, I'm not 100% sure, but I think NIU was the first school to use a wireless mic in football. I'm pretty sure we were. I know WGN was flirting with it a little bit, but we did it. And we were the first ones I know to go on the road with it. And you should have seen the bag. You think we're heavy now with the bag security. You should have seen it back then. But so it came time to get a third body, and we shifted Sid downstairs, and I brought in Mark Linda. And Mark Linda now has been next to me for 38 years. And in between different people on the field, you're there now. Before you was Casey Kaler, and Casey is now out in the Pacific Northwest searching for Sasquatch and DJ Cooper and money. I mean, he's still around the woods out there. He still thinks he's going to cash in somehow. And so, I mean, he was a terrific guy to work with. And, I just, when it comes right down to it, like I said, I've been so fortunate. All of you guys, not only great broadcasters in my mind, but every single one of you have become good friends. Like I said, don't let it go to your head. Okay.
No, it's a lot like that, Bill, because sometimes we're around in holidays or on weekends that we could be with our families, and we chose this lifestyle of sports broadcasting, Bill. So we have come and grown like a family. Even Sid, we still talk to Sid and Casey. We call Casey on the road sometimes, Bill. So it's that family that kind of brings that together. And I think it's a lot because of you and how you've kind of brought us together. I think that was a big part of it.
That's been the part of it. And, we'll talk about travel maybe a little bit later on here, because there's some exploits we've had over the years. You were not around when we were able to smoke cigars and rental cars in hotel rooms, but there was a time we were able to do that. Here's some stories I can tell you about that. But yeah, it's the people I've worked with, without a doubt, have made these 44 years just simply fly by.
Good stuff, and we'll have more looking back with Bill Baker throughout the year. And always enjoyed talking to the voice of the Huskies, Bill Baker. I really enjoyed the looking back at that with Bill Baker, and you can see more of him coming up here on NIU Weekly again next week. So we get ready for this week, and again, we've got some home matches first with women's soccer coming up on Thursday night, DePaul here in DeKalb, 7 p.m. Soccer Track and Field Complex. Volleyball is on the road, taking on Dayton and also North Dakota and Cedar Falls on Friday. Cross country is in Bowling Green, Ohio. They're going to have an open. It's a Mel Brock Legion Open. That's for cross country on Friday, September 15th. We mentioned with Coach Swan about men's soccer hosting Missouri State. That is 6 p.m. at the Soccer Track Field Complex on Saturday night. Volleyball again at Northern Iowa on Saturday. And again, we mentioned football coming up on Saturday, 6 p.m. Women's golf is in East Lansing, Michigan on Sunday. Monday, men's golf and women's golf again on the road for some play there. And then the men's golf is on Tuesday at the VCU shootout out in Richmond, Virginia. So we got a lot of teams in action, a lot of them on the road. There are some home matches. Women's soccer on Thursday night, get out there, taking on DePaul. And Saturday night, men's soccer taking on Missouri State. Don't forget, quick reminder, Husky fans, the football team returns home to face Tulsa on Saturday. Get your tickets. Had a great crowd out there on Husky Stadium last Saturday, looking for another big crowd on the 23rd. Get your tickets. It's going to be family weekend. Tickets still remain. Get them in advance. They've got the 2-game mini plans. You also get a homecoming ticket and any other game. Why not take the Tulsa game? That's just for $55. Some other great ideas are all available. NIUHuskies.com or 753-PACK. Get your tickets for NIU football taking on Tulsa on Saturday, September 23rd. Hopefully this week NIU football get back on track. Again, get another Power 5 win. We'll be on the radio 5:30 p.m. on Saturday night. NIU football taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hopefully you can make the trip out to Lincoln. If not, you can listen to us on the Husky Sports Radio Network. Appreciate Thomas Hammock and Ryan Swan coming on this week. We also appreciate you as always. Thank you for watching. And again, if you're not a subscriber, we just went over 2,500. Get the bell, click the likes, and get all the subscriptions, get everything you're going to see here on the NIU Athletics YouTube page. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next week, go Huskies.